Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening everyone, and welcome to round 8 of the AOR Hype Season 18 PC F2 League. After having 2 consecutive straight track affairs, we have arrived at a circuit where the walls are, let's say, a bit distant to the track. Of course, that means we are here in Castellet, at the circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix, the start of 7 consecutive European races in the middle pack of the season. A track built back in 1969 and was a regular occurrence in the Formula 1 calendar until it was dropped in 1990 in favour for Magny Cours, where Michael Schumacher won quite a lot of races. However, it has since returned to the calendar in 2018, debuting in the AOR leagues back in Season 16. We are back for the second time here in AOR, and if the first races are anything to live up to, then this should be quite a decent race compared to the real life affairs. The track is 5.84 kilometers with 15 turns, 6 to the left and 9 to the right. 2 DRS zones to promote overtaking, down the Mistral straight towards the chicane of 8 and 9, and of course on the main start-finish straight as well. For the middle range of the dry Pirelli compound with us today, we could need the intermediates or the wet. The PS4 F1 race going on right now has used the wet, the intermediates and the dry tyres, so if we get that, I would love to see that. That should be a very fun race. The strategy for a possible dry race would be a one-stop from either the softs to the hards or the mediums to the hards. My name is Jim Costello and I'll be one of the commentators for tonight's live coverage. Joining me as always in the commentary box is my partner in crime. It is of course Jens. Good evening.
Good evening, my friend.
Expecting a decent race tonight, Jens? Obviously, you know, the real life races haven't really lived up to any expectations, but it's quite different in the virtual world of F1 here in AOR. We obviously in Season 16, in our respective league, in F4, we did see quite a decent race. And I'm expecting something similar tonight, even despite a low attendance drivers.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing some great racing. We know these drivers, they are a bit, how should I put it, extreme when going for the overtakes sometimes. They are wanting to risk it a bit more than other drivers, and that are showing for some cracking races we've seen in the past.
Yeah, none other than the previous race back in Canada, where Mr. Anker, who is currently getting towed by his teammate at the moment in qualifying, did take his first ever victory in AOR, and that promoted him up into 3rd in the standings.
Yes, it did, if we are looking at the championship standings here. And he got pushed up to 3rd, but because Nabadovsky wasn't there in the last race, that meant that Martin G was 3 to take up the first spot in the championship standings. So now just a 2-point gap between the 2 front drivers there. Then we have, as I said, Anke in 3rd and Icewees in 4th. Then the Eagle in 5th, Le Mans in 6th, Railgun in 7th, Rain in 8th, Ignition in 9th, and THM running off the top 10 of these standings. Then we have Rick, Surd, Kimmy's, Smidge, Bulksan, Boomsong, Kobe, Julian, FK Gaming, and Soren, sadly on the last spot on the grid. But looking at the championship standings, we're still seeing McLaren at the top, even though they haven't been the best in the last couple of races. We're seeing Red Bull with a 13-point gap up to McLaren first. Then we have Alfa Romeo in third, Mercedes in fourth, Renault in fifth, Toro Rosso in sixth, Williams in seventh, Racing Point in eighth, Haas in ninth, and Ferrari in last place, really needing to pick up some points. And a great opportunity for that would be to get a good qualifying position so they can get some points in the race. So let's just jump right into it if IBS wants to pick it up. There we go.
Well, I've just realised, Jens, that neither Napadovsky or Martin G are here tonight, which is quite... You don't expect that from the two drivers at the top, and especially considering Napadovsky was on the game about half an hour ago. I don't know where he's disappeared off to. That's a big shame for him, especially with all his fans that usually come on to cheer him on. So that means Anko, who's on provisional pole at the moment, could take the championship lead if he gets second or better, which would be a big turnaround. If he gets 2 wins on the trot, he'd be right in the driving seat. And even with with 10 drivers only here tonight, then it's a huge possibility as Smeed, I've just gone on board with him as he came through the chicane, has just walloped his car into the barriers. And that's not a good turnaround if, well, he's not had the best season so far, and apparently not in the best shape tonight, so unfortunately I don't think he'll be in contention for a strong result as he goes extremely wide. But thankfully, through turn 10, seeing there's so much runoff area, you could cover quite a lot of distance.
That just shows what will happen if you try and go flat out through there with a missing right side of your front wing.
Yeah, but the only team to field... Actually, there are 2 teams that have fielded 2 drivers tonight, Red Bull and Racing Point. The former which are currently second in the Constructors' Championship and could take the lead now that there's no McLaren representatives. And they're being very helpful to each other, both giving slipstream down the Mistral straight where DRS is activated. And it's helped them to be 1 and 2 so far in qualifying, which should, according to Le Mans, have a slight chance of rain at the end of the session. So don't discount that. Asmi just stopped on the pit straight.
Yeah, I think he just missed the pit entrance.
Did he forget that it's been updated?
I maybe, because it was looking quite peculiar the way he came on to the start-finish straight, almost looking for that right-hand turn as it was last year. As Anka improves his time in first place, but it has of course been moved to just before the last corner.
Yeah, of course, and obviously the penultimate corner being a swooping left-hander, it's quite, adjacent to the track, where how you have to go straight, and it's quite narrow. So you could, well, you thankfully got no walls in between the pit lane. In theory, you've got a whole lot of track runoff, so it should cause no issues for the drivers. But we never know. These bunch can surprise us sometimes. As I'm still on board with the 2 Red Bulls. That Hackler's on his second attempt of his flying lap, and they're still giving each other slipstream. So these are really playing the team game, and currently it's working out really well, as they're both 3 tenths ahead of Le Mans, who's occupying the 3rd spot here of 10. But yeah, they're doing very well so far, and they're setting really good lap times on the mediums, of course. And I'm assuming they might want to start on the mediums. I don't think anyone's opting for the softs. No one's even touched the softs so far in this qualifying session. But actually, the 3rd down to 7th have all set their best lap times on the hards, and the bottom 3, still yet without times, are currently on the mediums. For example, Boomsonk, who's making his way through turn 11. Obviously, he left the league, I think around Spain or Monaco, then has rejoined the league. So it's nice to see him back, and obviously Ferrari, who were struggling, or still are struggling, bottom of the Constructors' Championship. He needs a decent result, and it's definitely possible. Points are a guarantee if you can just finish and get classified in the race. Here comes Boomsong up towards the line, and he goes fourth, fastest on the medium compounder tyres. Not a bad lap time from him, but he's still 7/10 off the Red Bulls, and I don't think Slipstream on the Mistral site gives 7/10, so there's still a bit of time to find for the Ferrari.
Yes, of course, and Haas only being here with one car also gives Boomsong a good opportunity to get some points in for Ferrari to catch up to the other guys, and with Smeech not feeling so well, that is just another hinder to Haas's season.
Yeah, and of course, only having one representative for now, unless either pops up as Lazzaro has left the league, and leaving Smeech as a lone runner for Haas, and of course, him being unwell does not benefit them in the slightest. But again, as I said about Boomsong, points are a guarantee if you just finish the race, and there goes Le Mans onto provisional pole, the 1:30.5. So the Red Bulls, so the initial pace, but with the Williams of Le Mans has gone one better. Obviously, he got overthrown by Anker last weekend. Obviously, both were searching for their first ever AOR victory. I'm pretty sure Le Mans might have run in a lower tier, but definitely not in F2. But yeah, Le Mans clearly not happy about last week's result, looking to go one better, and so far, so good for the Williams.
Yes, indeed, and at the top it is close. Just 1/10 of a second splits first from third, meaning that if the two Red Bulls are working together on the straight and are good to leave a fine gap when coming to the last sector, not to get into the dirty air of someone, they could be topping that lap time. Or if they want to go onto the softs, if that's something they are thinking to do, that will surely top his time at the top.
Just been informed that Martin G and Napadossi are racing, but not in this tier, in split one. So they've both well deserved their promotion, but that, in theory, that leaves Anker as the championship leader. So, as I said, he could take the lead. He already has got the lead. I'm quite bemused by that. I mean, it's a bit of a shame, but they definitely deserve that promotion. I mean, Napadossi has been on fire in the first two races, and Martin G obviously does have 2 wins in his back pocket in China and Spain. I'm a bit bummed by that, because we were looking for a really good championship fight, and it still should be. But the fact that Ice Suisse isn't here, it could be a battle between the two Red Bulls at the moment, but obviously we've still got a long way to go. We've only surpassed 1/3 of the season. But yeah, brand new news there. Napadossi and Martin G have both been promoted to Split 1.
And with that news, that just leaves the championship wide open as Soren sets the fastest lap, and I think Igniton has crashed in sector 3. Soren retired, and some yellow flags in sector 3 just after Igniton retired, so might be something there. We're not able to see it. But yeah, that leaves the championship right open with those two out. Just 1/3 of the way through.
Am I seeing rain?
Oh.
In the pit, it looks like it's raining in the pit lane.
There is some on Le Mans' car, which means that if there is rain, the rain is beginning to come down, which I think will mean that all the drivers are going to retire, because then none.
Oh, dear Smeech.
Oh.
He has pile drived into the wall. I think he realised that there's no point setting a lap time, because the least competitive time of Kopi's at 1:31.3 will not be beatable due to the weather conditions getting worse and worse. And on board with Anker through turn 1 and 2, Yeah, it is starting to drip down, and that's not going to help the conditions of the track whatsoever. So it looks like Soren has only gone and bagged himself a pole position in front of his home fans, but only just ahead of Le Mans. But obviously, there's still 3 minutes to go. The conditions could dry up, but the fact that Soren has retired intentionally, as has Hadler, gives me the impression that conditions aren't going to get any better.
No, and Anker not opening his DRS on the back straight, and it's not looking like he's warming up his tyres. I think he was just out to test the conditions to see if it was good enough. But I mean, we don't know. He could be going on to try out for a lap time. So let's just stay on board. As Krysik's now retires, so currently we only have Le Mans, Anker and Bolksan still in the session, or not retired yet. Let's see. No, it looks like Anker will be carrying on. Oh, no. Or what? No, it looks like he'll be trying for a lap, into hot lap mode. So let's just stay on board. Let's see for a hot lap with him coming into that first left-right hander of De La Verrière. Left, then right, quite quick, even though they've sharpened it up this year. Coming down towards Virage de l'Hôtel. Quite quick right-hander, and he goes straight over that whole complex as he was not coming a bit too fast into it, and that looks like a invalidated lap time. And he has retired from the session. Now Le Mans in the pit. Don't think we'll be seeing him come out as the rain is falling quite heavy over Le Castellet.
Oh, I wish qualifying started about 20 minutes later than it usually does, because that would have been we would have been in for a real treat. It looks like it could get really heavy, but yeah, it's definitely intermediate conditions needed now. So Le Mans doesn't even have time to get out for a flying lap, so he should retire in due course. And yeah, we can get going. Hopefully, if Le Mans decides he wants to retire the session. I wonder if this means a possible wet race or a dry one. We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, the best thing we can do as commentators would that be to reverse commentators curse it, to say we hope for a very dry race. I mean, it has worked before.
Yes.
So let's see.
There is a possibility. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't mind a wet race.
No. I mean, that, as you can see on the left-hand side, that is your grid. Soren on pole, the man finishing off the first row. Then Anker and Hadler, a Red Bull second row of the grid. They'll be looking to take one of the first spots. Then Bolksan in 5th, Krysik in 6th, Boomsonk 7th, Kobe 8th, and Igniton and Smeej rounding off your grid with 15 seconds left of qualifying. Just waiting. So with the rain, we didn't quite get the ending we were hoping for. But that doesn't mean we won't have a great race.
I'm sure Soren won't mind one bit that it rained at the end. He gets his first pole position of the season. Le Mans denied by only 13 milliseconds. And it's a Red Bull 3 and 4. They look really competitive for the race. And if they're going to give each other help, like in slipstream-wise, they could be a big threat to Soren's provisional pole. Bolksan in 5th, Krysik's in his home race in 6th, Boomsonk 7th, Kopi and Igniton 8th and 9th for Racing Point, and Smeej without a time. Let's get into this race. This should be a fun one. Only 10 drivers. It still should be quite decent. Overtaking is a definite possibility here. And if it's a wet race, well, that's going to spice it up even more.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, but it's bone dry.
Well, you know, the rain could suddenly come in as it did in qualifying. I mean, it is a bit overcast.
To be fair, these conditions were quite similar at the start of qualifying, and that was only 18 minutes long. The race is around 40. So, let's not dampen our hopes. Just let's try and raise our hopes. I mean, it's still going to be a good race regardless of the weather, but you know, 2 races without rain it's been too long. You know, we want wet races every race. You know, is that too much to ask?
No, I don't think so. That's perfectly natural to ask Mother Earth for that.
No, as much as us commentators would want the spiciest weather for every single race, I think it'll be quite hard on the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be.
And thankfully, unlike this time, well, not this time last year, because we're about 2 months ahead of schedule. This time, last time we came here, I should say, season 16, I am not racing,
Oh
which is always
yeah.
good. I can actually see the drivers out on the formation lap.
Yeah. So, just to confirm the tyres, because I know my game has a habit of playing up. What's the tyres looking like on your screen?
Everyone's on mediums except for the Racing Points, who are
Perfect.
both on the hards. And yes, no glitches for you, which is great. Unsurprisingly, no one has opted for the soft. But yeah, everyone from first to 8th did qualify. Obviously, Nixon and Smeech both had 3 for the tyre wear. One went for hards, one went for mediums. So we should be seeing a one-stop race for every single driver. But the Racing Points will have to work quite tactically together and work as a team, as they are both on the reverse strategy and cannot afford one incident, especially where we've only got 10 drivers, so any incidents will see them right down the field and getting the last points positions. But Soren on pole. He's got a lot of pressure from behind. Le Mans obviously will want to redeem himself with a win. Can Anka make it 2-2? The now championship leader. Can Hadler get his first win of the season? Can he can he get his first podium of this season? He's yet to get one, and he's in a really good shape to get one today. Bulksan, the sole runner for Toro Rosso, his best result so far this season is a 6th place, and he's qualified much better than that today. Kreisix, obviously, the second French driver in the grid, the lone representative for Sauber, looks quite good. He was obviously very strong this time in season 16. Boomstock back in the league, and obviously we've got the 2 Czechs in the Racing Points, and Smeech, albeit quite poorly, will still give it 110% as we gear up for the French Grand Prix in the Castellet, and we have 5 red lights ahead of the drivers, and it's lights out, and away we go down towards turn 1, a quite long run, and Le Mans has got a really good jump compared to the Mercedes Soren, and he's fully ahead into the braking zone with the 2 Rebels going side by side with Bulksan for 3rd, 4th and 5th as they all foul through turn 1 and 2. Very neatly, but a few side-by-side. Le Mans with the lead from Soren, from Anka. Bulksan makes his way round the outside of Hadler into towards turn 5. Hadler with the inside line keeps the momentum through there and forces Toro Rosso a little bit wide. Boomsong went fully off the track there in his pursuit to get past Kreisix. But Hadler has got past Bulksan. But now as he head onto the Mistral Straight for the first time out of 27, with Le Mans leading from Soren from Anka, it's really close between 4th and 5th. Hadler's more later on the brakes, more braver, and he takes pole place. But Kreisix and Boomsong going wheel to wheel out of turn 9, and the Ferrari just has the upper hand with the 2 Racing Points settle into 8th and 9th. Speed in 10th. Just waiting in the distance, you know, we need to take it a bit conservative. I think Nixon has got past his teammate at the start, but Le Mans getting the jump on Sorengens.
Yes, indeed, an interesting start there. Seeing Le Mans, as you said, just go past Soren through turns 1 and 2. That is exactly what Le Mans was looking for. Now, just looking at the position changes, there haven't been much. Of course, the Le Mans and Soren, then Boomsong moving 1 up and Kreisix 1 down, and then the 2 Racing Point drivers switching positions there at the start, and everyone else staying where they were from the start.
Yes, but unfortunately due to our lack of drivers, no one's made major jumps, but there's still 26 more laps for that to happen, and a variety of strategy. For example, the Racing Points, who are still nose to tail and still right behind Kreisix, who's not done with Boomsong just yet. And I don't think Boltzmann is done with Hadler just yet, but the top three just settling into their rhythm. Soren's right on the back of Le Mans and using that slipstream to good effect. Smeed is falling a bit behind the two Racing Points, but he'll still get a point regardless of what happens. But yeah, everyone's just settling into their rhythm, just doing the race, getting slipstream from the drivers ahead. The two Red Bulls are the biggest gap at the moment, 1 second separating Anker and Hadler. So when DRS becomes active, next lap time around, Volksan will have DRS, Hadler won't, which will really benefit the Toro Rosso, but he goes wide at the swooping turn 11, which I can't pronounce the name of, as Eknikton and Kreisix going wheel to wheel into the Bender corner. Sorry, I had to say it once. Eknikton looks like he's got the better traction out of there compared to the Frenchman in the Alfa Romeo, and now around turn 14, if he can swoop around here, he will have the inside. And he should get the position. Kreisix is forced off the track. There's not a lot of room to go side by side there. Eknikton is through. Can Kopi follow suit? You know what? He's got the drive out of that final corner to do just that, and Kreisix has no response. The two hard runners in the Racing Point getting past. Good teamwork from there, even though Eknikton's initial his want to get past Kreisix has helped Kopi in the process. Kreisix loses 2 positions in about 2 corners there, but that Eknikton, a really bold move around the outside of turn 14. You don't often see that, but he made it work. Fair play.
Yes, indeed, but now Kopi has to watch out for Kreisix as the DRS has been enabled. So down in the Mistral straight, we'll have a look, but Kopi has DRS off his teammate. But still, Kreisix just lurking just behind. Now let's see on the second part of that straight. Will Kreisix be able to do something? Maybe into senior? No, just sticks behind that. Would have been quite a bold move to go down the inside of that swooping right-hander. Now coming down to the start-finish straight. What will Kreisix be able to do with some DRS? As Kopi is right on the edge of his teammate's DRS trail there. But now coming down the start-finish straight. Will Kreisix be able to do anything into turn 1? Oh, just a bit too far back from Kopi there. He'll of course have another shot on the Mistral straight when they come so far. As Eknikton has caught up to Boomsonk and is looking to get in the fight for 6th place. Maybe catch up to Bolksan. But now Kreisix coming on the Mistral straight. The same with Eknikton and Boomsong. Eknikton goes down the inside and gets the position in that braking zone. But Kopi able to fend off Kreisix. But Boomsong comes back at Eknikton. Will try the overtake into senior. Quite bold to go side by side. Will they make it work? It looks like it on those hard and medium tires. Then coming through the double right-handed. Looks like Boomsong got it, but no! Eknikton does the switch back and goes down the inside and keeps on and gets that position after Boomsong fought forward down the straight. But this has allowed Kopi to catch up to Boomsong a bit, and that'll mean that Kopi will have DRS to fend off Kreisix on the next lap, but could also leave Boomsong quite vulnerable for overtakes. No, none of them are able to do anything there.
That was very clever racing from Ignics, and realised that Boomsong went deep into that swooping right-hander and managed to pull a switchback move off. It's the first time I've ever seen that, and it was quite clever. Another clever overtake from the Racing Point, and has already made up 3 positions at the start, but Boomsong is still within DRS. But Kryzik's really close to the back of his teammate Kopi, and he could go for a move, but Kopi's DRS is kind of preventing that from happening. Boomsong makes a little move to the inside, just to say, I'm not done with you just yet. Oh dear, Anchor. A 3-second time penalty with not even a fifth of the way through this race. That's a bit of a warning sign for him, and he's dropped back off the tail of the front two here, as they're keeping very good pace between each other. Soren only a 5/10 behind. And I wonder if he's just playing the tactical game and not trying to get past Le Mans, because France is quite a difficult track to really pull away, and Le Mans really feeling it, as the long straights are really keeping Soren in touching distance here. And with DRS, you can see how much he's closing in, as he sets the fastest lap of the race for good measure. So the 2 Red Bulls are teaming up once again, just waiting to pounce on if anything happens between these two, which I hope doesn't, because these two definitely deserve to be at the front end of the grid at the moment. But yeah, Le Mans doing very well, just controlling the pace at the moment, but one small mistake into these corners, a lock-up, can put him really under pressure, and Soren is really close, 6/10 behind. Let's see if he can gain anything with DRS. Le Mans isn't defending. Oh yes, he is going very to the inside, but Soren actually isn't going for a move. He's in 0 ERS, so he clearly doesn't think about it. So yeah, I think he's playing very tactical here, to stay behind him and wait for pit stop. He looks like he has the pace to overthrow the Williams, but it doesn't seem like he wants to at the moment. Yeah, thankfully for him, he's realizing that maybe the Red Bulls aren't really gaining on them, so there's no real rush to get past the Williams. But if I were him, I would just want to see the back of him, to be honest. But yeah, Soren clearly thinking a bit more tactically than I would, and that's why as a driver and I'm a commentator.
Yes, indeed, and it could look like that he will maybe pit later than Le Mans, being behind him and have saved his tyres, and then maybe on the overcut there just use all his ERS in hot lap and try and get in front, as the Red Bulls have closed up a bit, as Boomsong has gone into the pits after 5 laps on his medium tyres. Going on to the hard tyres for a second, the game was showing soft tyres. I was a bit shocked for a second, but that will mean he'll try to have those hard tyres on for 20 laps and try to make that go to the end, which, if he's battling anyone, that could be a bit of a stretch. 20 laps on the hard tyres, but let's see. As Soren is still not trying to do an overtake on Le Mans, and with Anchor just slowly catching up, reduced it from a 1.5 second gap now down to 1.2 in about 1.5 laps.
And he's tagging his teammate along very nicely indeed, as Kryzik has finally got past Copley in the battle for 7th place. So he's finally seen the rear, the rear wing of the Racing Point, which was occupying his field of view for the past few laps, is now behind him. And now he is the Alfa Romeo filling inside of a Racing Point sandwich, and it's for 6th, 7th and 8th, but Eglinton has really pulled away from his teammates and is a bit of no man's land. 3.5 seconds to Bulkstand, who is on the very rear of this train for first position. If Le Mans starts bunching them up, I'm sure the Toro Rosso will close up to the 2 Red Bulls ahead. But yeah, the pit window is in around about 3 or 4 laps. Oh dear, Kopi's left the session. A disconnect.
Oh.
That must be a technical difficulty for him. Hopefully he can get back in time to be ahead of Smeej at least. Hopefully he can get back. to be honest, because we don't want to lose someone due to this sort of issue, especially with only a lack of drivers tonight. That we don't really want someone to be leaving us due to this particular reason. But thankfully, we haven't seen any real issues driving-wise. No front wings gone, no crashes. But thankfully, Kopi is back, and he hasn't lost that much time. He says he's still in DRS range, but Kreisig looks quite distantly ahead. But he's not lost that much time compared to what you can lose when you're a Ghost. Thankfully, the AI level is at a reasonable level to this level of competition, so when that does happen, you don't lose a significant time. That's one of the rules I like about AOR compared to, yeah. But yeah, back at the front, Lamont still leading from Soren. And Hadler, no, Anchor into the pits on lap 8.
That is, I would say, if he can manage his tyres, that's all right. But if he's going to push a bit, it's a bit early to come in. Let's see. That'll mean that Soren and Le Mans and Hadler will be on fresher tyres come the end of this Grand Prix.
Well, of course, Anker was very strategic last time out in Canada. He managed to perform the undercut on both of his 2 pit stops, getting past Railgun in the second. I'm not sure what the first one. Maybe it might have been his teammate, or maybe I think it was like Nixon actually. Yes, it was. So if he can do that again, he could potentially be in the lead of the race, especially considering as we go up to the battle for the lead, Soren is the closest I think he's ever been to the Williams of Le Mans. Only 2 tenths separating them as he comes through the turn 10 senior corner. That could have been so close into contact, and it results in Soren overtaking Le Mans. Le Mans gives him the racing room through turn 11, and the lead has changed hands. For the first time in this race, Soren really putting the pedal to the metal and actually going for this. And after sitting behind the Williams for a fair number of laps, he actually comes into the pit, so the lead did not last very long whatsoever. Now, Anker's outlap has to be optimal for him to get past Soren, because Soren clearly was driving a very quick in-lap considering he overtook a car in the process, but overtaking Le Mans costs him as Hadler is also in the second Red Bull, and Soren makes his way at 50 kilometers down the pit lane, which drifts out to the outside of turn 1. Anker has just exited the final corner, and now Soren can get back on the power, and Anker, it's going to be close, but Soren has made it work just about, but I think 1 lap longer and Soren might have been overtaken by the Red Bull. Now, well, what does this mean for Le Mans? Has Le Mans been caught out by this? Is he going to lose 1 position? Is he going to lose 2 positions? Is he going to stay in the provisional lead? We'll have to wait and find out, as Boomsonk is the next one to get a penalty, but Le Mans could be caught out here.
Yes, indeed, he could be, but his in-lap has to be optimal. In laps, he's not coming in yet, but they have to be optimal, or else he will probably lose that net lead, as Soren was clearly faster than him. Now coming down towards that Virage de la Tour, which leads into the pit lane, and he pits, slows down to 60 kilometers an hour, coming into that very tight pit lane. But now let's see where Soren and Anker will be when Le Mans and Volkson comes out of the pits. Now Soren been in the clean air for this whole lap, has had Anker behind him, but not really having to defend from him. But now, where will Le Mans be? He will be in front. Le Mans keeps the provisional lead in front of Soren and then Anker and Hadler. But now let's see what the drivers still out there, possibly the Force Indias, will be able to do in these coming laps, as they're on the older hard tyres as they started on them. And Chrysix and Smeege also needing to pit in this race. Chrysix and Smeege probably coming in on the next couple of laps. Then Ignixon and Kopi. As Soren and Le Mans is quite close there, coming in to that chicane that splits the Mistral Straight in 2 bits. But into Senior, still very close. Soren looking to make the move. Anker close behind them. It's almost a 3-way fight for the lead now, as Soren tries to go down or go round the outside. Now coming down to Bendor, looking to make the move, and he goes round the outside, at least tries, as Chrysix has come into the pits. And these 4 guys are really close, our provisional top 4, as they are quite close to the leader. And Le Mans defending to the inside through this left-right hander. But Anker almost putting a bit of pressure onto Soren, as Soren is stuck behind Le Mans here. Now coming on to the Mistral. Will Soren be able to make the move, or will Anker make the move on him instead? As he comes down to the DRS. Le Mans not getting any DRS from anyone, so he'll be a sitting duck on the straight. And Soren gets the position. What about Anker? Anker thought of going for the move, but not having enough speed there. He'll possibly make the move on the next couple of laps. The same with Hadler behind. Now Soren will have to watch out that none of the guys in this train gets the idea of overtaking him, but I think he will soon be getting the DRS from Smeege. Smeege, of course, haven't pitted yet. Will he do it on this lap? That'll mean that Soren will be the front guy in this train. Smeege still carrying on. That means that Soren will probably get the DRS off of Smeege. Of course, this will be a fight for 3rd place. Smeege not getting lapped. Now Soren has pulled a bit away from this train. Anker again looking to make the move into turn 1. Le Mans defending well. Now coming down towards Virage de l'Hôtel. Anker still a bit too far back, as Chrysix gets a 3-second time penalty. All the way down in 9th place, but let's now see what Anker will be able to do, and if Soren will be able to make the move on Smeege. Smeege getting a bit out of the way of these guys. Le Mans overtaking him. It looks like Smeege isn't putting up a fight here, but Anker getting a bit stuck behind Smeege, not able to get past in this stint of cars. Smeege trying to get out of the way, Anker trying to use that slipstream off of him. Now Anker still close to Le Mans, and Le Mans close to Soren, and of course Hadler is also in this train of cars.
What I'm finding interesting is that Smeege is still not pitted. I thought by now the medium tyres would have fallen off the cliff, and it does seem like he has. As there goes Buxton through. He's been kind of treated like a backmarker here. He's just in the way. It's like a mobile chicane just getting past him, like Anker found out. Getting a little bit stuck behind, but now they've all cleared the Haasman. And it's just the Racing Points who are in a race of their own now. Ignixon leads the way on at half distance from his teammate Kopi. From Soren, who leads the train. The French train, or what I don't know what we should call it. But yeah, it's a Mercedes train, which we don't often see enough in Formula 1. But yeah, he's holding up. Well, he's not holding up. He's got Le Mans behind, the two Red Bulls of Anker and Hadler. Bulksan is just outside DRS range, and Smeej obviously don't really count him in that train. He will surely come in to pit. Kryzik's in 9th and Boomsong rounding up the top 10. These two are closely together. But yeah, they're running way outside the main frame of things, which is currently the battle for 3rd position, but is in theory the battle for the lead once the two drivers ahead of them pit. But I'm interested to see how Igniton, well, plays out his strategy. The hards should last to around lap 18, 19, somewhere around that, then come in for, I don't know, mediums is the optimal idea, but if he can make those last, then he could maybe go into the softs at the end. It's a big risk, but if he wants to win this race, if you go on to the gap to leader, he is 14 seconds ahead of Soren, and that's about half of the time between, for a pit loss time. So, he could challenge for around 5th place in this race, but it'll be difficult. He needs to make sure these tyres that he's currently on can make it, and they can still pump him some consistent, and hopefully for his sake, quick lap times. As for his teammate, I don't think he'll be fighting for anything more than 7th or 8th at the moment. But I don't think, crucially, he'll interfere with the battle for the lead, as he's around 7.6 seconds ahead of Soren, and I don't think he'll be able to make up that time before the check in the Racing Point pits.
No, it doesn't look like that, and Anker's still close to a man here at Igniton pits. Here on lap 15. What tire will he be going on to?
It should be the mediums. There's no way the softs can go that far.
I mean, you never know. Let's see. Looks like he'll probably, he will come out on the medium tires to go to the end of the race as the whole pack overtakes him now. Where will he be coming out? He'll be coming out in front of Smeej, I think. Nope, Smeej will just about get him. So Igniton out in 8th place. That'll be 7th place once Smeej pits. As Boomsong gets another 3-second time penalty. He's now on 6 seconds worth of penalties. Not the race he was hoping for.
Igniton comes out 15 seconds behind his teammate, but around 8 seconds behind the battle for the provisional lead, as actually Soren's lost the provisional lead to Le Mans. So Le Mans got it back again, as Anker has unfortunately picked up his 2nd penalty of the afternoon. And I'm just checking, I'm pretty sure Le Mans and Soren are both penalty-less. Soren is, and so is Le Mans, and so is Hadler and Bulksan. So unfortunately, Anker's challenge for the lead, I don't think it's going to happen, whether he gets it on track or not. Obviously, penalties did come a massive part in last race, where he was penalty-less. Not today, unfortunately, that is not the case. Kopi is now in, so that will now mean that Le Mans will take the lead back after everyone has made their pit stop, apart from Smeej. But will he finally pit? Oh yeah, he finally pits on lap 16 and should put on a set of, I don't know what he's going to go on, because he's on the mediums, isn't he? So he could, well, he should go on the hards. But if he wants to risk it, he could go on to 2 sets of softs and try and take the fastest lap, which will give him obviously 1 bonus point, as everyone is inside the top 10, and yes, he is on the softs. So, he's just going to go for it. He's got nothing to lose whatsoever. He's just trying to make some enjoyment out of this pretty dull race for him. Obviously, he's not feeling well at all, but he'll give it a right go to try and get fast lap of this race, which is currently a 1:34.0 set by Bulksan. So let's see what Smeej can do. His best lap time is around 2 seconds off that. So he's off the pace, but he'll give it a go, and those soft tyres have a good chance of doing it. So I'll keep a close eye on that. whilst we're watching the battle for the lead, which is now a 5-car train as Ignition closes up to the back of them, slowly but surely.
Yes, and looking at this battle, it looks like it has stabilized a bit, but some of the drivers could just be charging their ERS to go for an overtake come the closing stages of this race, as it looks like Anchor will be on a bit of the used tires, as they are all on around the same age of tires in this whole pack, as Le Mans sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:33.9 on the hard tires, and Ignition just beating that. Quite close for the fast lap of the Grand Prix, but I'm sure Smeej will beat that come the next couple of laps.
Yeah, he definitely have quite a few opportunities. He can make as many pit stops as he wants on the softs at the moment. He's got no one to battle. But that can't be said for the drivers occupying the top 5, all within DRS of each other. Unfortunately, we've got back into a scenario of a slipstream train, the infamous slipstream train, where drivers are just stuck behind other drivers within DRS range and can't really overtake. But Kopi has managed to overtake Boomsong, which is unsurprising considering Boomsong is on 11 lap old hard tyres and Kopi is on fresh 1 lap medium tyres. So the racing points are making steady progress. Kopi should close up to Kryzix, who he spent a lot of time behind and ahead of. So hopefully we'll be able to re-overtake him for 7th place. And then that's pretty much the end of his road before the checkered flag. But Ignition has got a lot more to play for, especially now that these guys are really stabilising themselves at the front. Really, well, they're going quicker because Soren has just hit another fastest lap with a 1:33.7. But yeah, none of them are really making moves. Ignition now the fastest man on track. I'm on board with Smeed, so if he can better that. But yeah, Le Mans just really controlling things. He's really the dictator, really, as to what really happens towards the end of this race. With Ignition, the hazard for the drivers in 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st. But yeah, at this rate, Ignition might catch up to the top, but he'll definitely catch up to Bulksan. But it's about overtaking, you know. He'll join this slipstream train as, oh dear Soren, that's not what you want, a 3-second time penalty. That puts Le Mans in a very, well, a more comfortable position. I don't know if he knows about Soren's penalty or Anker's 2 penalties, but wait, let me check if Ignition has got a penalty. He doesn't.
Hasn't. That's yeah, doesn't have any penalties. The drivers with penalties are Anker, Kryzix, Boomsong and Soren. Anker and Boomsong both on 2 penalties, the rest is just on 1.
Alright then, so Ignition, if he gets a penalty, then it's pretty much out of the running for a win, as Soren, out of absolutely nowhere, out of the final corner, is going wheel to... Oh no, Le Mans has left the session, no! That's why Soren closed up so dramatically. I was wondering why on earth he was trying to move at the final corner. Oh, that is heartbreaking for Le Mans, who was on course for his first ever AOR win, and technical difficulties has prevented that. I seriously hope he has a backup invite. But look how much time he's lost to Soren. It's 1.2 seconds. As Boomsong gets another penalty, and Anker will follow and take 2nd place off the Williams hands, who is absolutely helpless to fight that. Oh, that I feel so bad for Le Mans. I hope he can get back. I really hope he can get back, but it's concerning me that he can't, and he hasn't got back as quickly as Kopi could do in qualifying. Speaking of Kopi, he's ahead of Kryzix in more lighting news. But yeah, that's maybe really sad, that, because Le Mans deserved at least a win, and been taken away from him. You've got to feel for the guy. He won't even end up in the top 5 at this rate. With 8 laps to go, he might not end up in. He might be overtaken by both racing points at this rate. That's absolutely tragic. I don't think it's spoiled the race because Soren's definitely not out of danger just yet. Hadler is his nearest competitor for the win, and obviously don't discount Nixon, who's still gaining time on them. But yeah, not the greatest turn of events for us commentators, and also I don't want to imagine what Le Mans thinking right now.
No, but if he's lucky, he'll be able to gain a couple of positions due to penalties.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back.
Relief.
Oh, that took a bit too long, but he is back and rejoining in 5th place. He'll now be trying to keep Ignition away and catch up to this very long train, as Bolksan is looking to go down the inside of Hadler, gone up to 3rd place there, coming in to that chicane. But Hadler maybe looking to come back into senior. No, keeps back. Bieleman back in the session. Will now be trying to catch back up to the slipstream train. That isn't really a train anymore, with a couple of these guys falling out of DRS range of each other.
Obviously, it's not over for the win for Le Mans. We know that Soren has a penalty, Anka has 6 seconds penalties, Bolksan is the effective leader of this race. As I said, before the start of the race, the highest he's finished so far in this league is 6th position. And he's on course for a win. Definite podium, he's in the podium positions already. Obviously Hadler is also penaltyless, as is Le Mans. But look, Ignition's within DRS range of the Williams as his teammate goes fastest overall, as he looks to extend his advantage over Kreisix. But yeah, the last thing Bolksan and Hadler need to do is battle, really, because 2.5 seconds is the distance between Soren, well, not distance, the time between Soren and Bolksan. If Bolksan falls out of that 3 seconds, he will no longer be in the effective lead of the race. So all is not lost for Le Mans, but it looks unlikely. Ignition, though, he's not got a lot of time. He's got 5 and a bit laps to get within 3 seconds of Soren, who looks pretty comfortable in the lead, as does Anka in 2nd. But Hadler, don't think he's done with Bolksan just yet. Oh god, excuse me. But these two, again, need to be very cautious with their warnings. I mean, I think both of them are on the fringes of penalties. Yeah, Bolksan has 2 warnings, Hadler also has 2. But thankfully both of them, they both picked them up very early in the race and have gone the whole second stint without penalties. So I think they can just they know what they're doing at the moment. But yeah, Le Mans 2 seconds behind Hadler, but it's got a charging racing point behind, and well, we've got 2 battles really, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th are the top 2. I've got a feeling to start to pull away a little bit, and Bolksan really has to play this smartly, because if he lets Hadler through, he could let the race, the win go away from him. He needs to keep that Red Bull behind, and Le Mans also needs to keep the racing point behind, but I don't think he'll be concentrating that much. I think the emotions of a possible win being thrown out of the window might really stare him at the face a bit more and just, yeah, force him to not drive to the extent that he's been driving for the first 20 laps before he disconnected. But he's keeping Ignition at bay for the time being. Well, the top 6 separated by 5.3 seconds. It's not often you hear that quote said, but I'm liking it so far, and it's definitely not over with just over 4 laps to go when Soren crosses the line. Lap 24 out of 27 will start. Soren, obviously a French driver, would love to win the race in front of his home crowd, Same can't be said for Kreisig down in 8th in no man's land. Smeej still hasn't set the fast lap of the race. So I'm concerned if he can actually, you know, set up. He's only 1/10 off Kobe, to be fair. Oh, now Nixon gets fast lap, so he's really setting the gauntlet. And look how close he is to Le Mans now. Only 2 and a bit tenths. But Le Mans has clawed up a bit of a gap between himself and Hadler. It's down to 1 second. It was 2 seconds a lap ago. So Le Mans is still reeling these two in. And he's bringing along a racing point to go with him. And there goes Kreisig with another penalty to the board. Now, we look for the top two being just pulling away. Bulksan is now outside of the 3 seconds. So this has not gone well for him whatsoever. Soren is a second ahead of Anka, who's 2 seconds ahead of Bulksan. And as I said before, just to repeat myself, Soren has 1 3-second time penalty, Anka has two 3-second time penalties. The 3, 4, 5 and 6 all are penaltyless, and we could see a change of position for P3 as Bulksan does not defend and Hadler dives down the inside at turn 11. They're going wheel to wheel, either giving an inch, but in the end Hadler just had to back off there. And these two battling has just extended the top two's lead over them even further. And Bulksan and Hadler's chances of winning are just falling even further and further and further away. Especially even Le Mans and Nick Nixon's chances of winning as these two continue to battle. As we start lap 25 of 27. Is Hadler going to go for a move through turn 1? No. I think turn 1 and turn 2 is too fast of a complex of corners to get past, unlike turn 8 and turn 9. But we'll carry on board with the Red Bull as he tries to get past Bulksan.
But watch out, Le Mans coming through, going side by side. Le Mans coming through from behind has clawed that lead back, and I think Hadler will get the DRS as they come on to the Mistral straight, coming down to the chicane, none of them giving an inch to each other. Oh, it's close, but Igniton now will come from behind. It's a three-way battle. Le Mans trying to go past, they did touch! Le Mans round on the second or third last lap of the Grand Prix. He's round, but now Igniton has caught up to Hadler. Will he be able to go past him and maybe go up to Bulksan to try and claw back some of the gap?
Well, I did not expect Le Mans to go for a move. I think that caught Hadler out. Well, that caught me out as much as it caught Hadler. I mean, you shouting kind of made me jump out my skin a little bit. I had no idea Le Mans was going for that move. I was expecting a nice sequence of cars going through the turn 5 and 6 complex, and no, Le Mans just out of nowhere, and it's backfired big time for Le Mans. It's Kreisig, oh dear. I think that's the fast lap attempt, but he's spelling the pit lane. Yeah, that's another penalty for Kreisig. He's not doing as well as his French counterpart Soren is. He's on course for his first victory of the season, as he starts the 26th lap of 27. The pull-on lap has started, and the only battle really worth watching is if Hadler can keep Igniton behind. That was very close racing. I think Hadler just showed Le Mans how to really race there. Le Mans, I think, was getting a bit impatient. Obviously, I can understand that he was very aggressive with his moves. He knows what was lost in this situation, and that situation is a race win. And he'll be gutted when he crosses the finish line to come home in 6th, when it could have been 25 points, which is what Soren is probably going to take. Oh, there goes Smeej, fastest lap.
Finally, 132.9.
He does a quick weave to just show that it's been worth it. But unfortunately for him, there's two competitors. So as Soren is about to start the final lap of this race, with Anka 1.3 seconds behind him, these two will probably make up one And no, he won't, because I think Buxan will find himself on the podium unless Hadl overtakes him. Soren looks like he will win the race unless he gets another time penalty, which I'm just going to check if he's on the fringes of a second time penalty. No, he's not. He's not got a single warning since his penalty. Obviously, Anker will be left to rue the 2 penalties he's gained because he will not be on the podium. His teammate will be. The question is, will he be second or will he be third? If he gets past Buxan, he of course will be second, but of course Nickton can still find himself on the podium, and if he does so, I think he'll be well worth a Driver of the Day award. But here comes Hadler on the final lap. We saw antiques on the final lap in the real life race, where a driver was awarded 2 penalties. No such incident on that occasion. Had the playing it safe, knowing a penalty, knowing a podium is at stake. And he just sits back. He might try and move at turn 11. We have seen this happen between Le Mans and Soren, and Buxan goes very early to defend the inside line. Can Hadler switch back like Nickton did previously? Oh, it's very close. And now, could Nickton put Hadler under pressure? Not quite. Hadler tries a move, but it's to no avail. Buxan will come home ahead of these two, but the man of the moment, Soren, will come across the line, and he is victorious. He wins his home Grand Prix. He wins the French Grand Prix here in the Castellet. Anker drops down from 2nd on track to 5th after penalties, so Buxan does get his first podium of the season, as does VP Hadler as well. So at least it is another Red Bull podium. Soren is victorious at his home events. I'm sure he'll be buzzing inside the cockpit, but Le Mans, as he crashes over the start-finish line, as I said before, you just got a feel for him. He's obviously shown his emotions and feelings right now as he has crashed on the start-finish line. Can Boomsong take the fastest lap away from Smeeds? Oh, Chrysax did! Oh no! So Smeeds' efforts all to nothing. Chrysax takes 8th and the fastest lap. Le Mans.
Oh, Smeeds just spun.
Oh dear.
Through senior.
He's probably seen the notification that Chrysax has took the fast lap, and yeah, oh well. Kudos to Smeeds for actually not giving up in this race.
Oh,
and,
wow.
giving us a little bit of a post-race show here.
That was a good drift through De Boisé.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
Coming through Bendel. Oh, his fins.
Actually, I give it an 8.6 out of 10 to refer to his 86 number. But yeah, Kobe's done with the race as he's left. But
let's see, coming through the last couple of corners. Will Smeeds drift? Right on the edge. Comes across the finish line. In the end, does a little wiggle across the line and goes into the wall, possibly. Oh, wow!
And he meets Le Mans destroyed car, I should say. Yeah.
Right,
there we go then. Soren wins his home Grand Prix, his first race win of the season. I think he's won before, but don't quote me on that. But regardless, this win will mean a lot to him. After his injury stopped him from starting the first 3 races of the season, he's only picked up 1 point so far, with a 10th place finish last time out in Canada. But he has gone 9 places better today. And what place to do it than his home race? He obviously led home Buxan, who took his first podium of the season. That will lift him up quite significantly in the Drivers' Championship. And Hadler has finally got his first podium. That is well deserved from a man who's been very consistent. A 4th, a 5th, a 5th, a 5th, a 7th, a 7th, and an 11th. And he's finally on the podium. In 3rd, Nickton, I would probably say driver of the day for me. P9 to P4, making that alternate strategy work. Anker, unfortunately, those penalties did cost him. Le Mans, yeah. Kopi in 7th, Chrysax in 8th with a bunch of penalties. Boomsonk in 9th, also with a bunch of penalties, and Smeej finished 1 minute and 52 seconds behind the race winner, and unfortunately was denied the fastest lap on the very last lap from Isaacs, who takes home that extra point. For a 10 lobby grid, that wasn't a bad race at all.
No, it definitely wasn't, and the drivers really showed towards the end that it really isn't over until the fat lady sings. The drivers really putting on a show there at the end with Le Mans overtake, or attempted overtake, and then Igniton just trying and trying to overtake Hadler at the end.
Well, there we go then. We move to Austria, which hopefully we'll see a better attendance rate. We can't guarantee it, but Austria does not need good driver rate to produce a good race. We've seen great races in the past, notably the real life race in 2019, which was a stunner, as was the race in 2018 as well, to be fair. But yeah, in AOR it's always producing good races. For example, the past 2 seasons that I've been commentating, and we've been commentating, and they've been pretty decent, so I should expect to be entertained this time next week. But I have been entertained very much so this race, and I'm sure Soren will be very happy with his results. And yeah, that's going to do us for France and round 8. Anke, obviously, is now the leader of the championship. So yeah, all that for, well, unfortunately Martin G and Nabadowski has left us. So that's 2 less drivers in our grid. But yeah, I think that's going to do us. I think I've rambled on for a bit longer than I probably should have, and I think we'll see. Well, we should see you next week for Austria.
Yes, and to confirm, yes, it will be Austria, same time next week, and until then, have a good one. Goodbye.